In this video, I'm going to be going over how to use Sequelize on to connect to a local MySQL database instance as well as on Heroku with Postgres. I'm going to be using the same app that we were working on from the last video that just used Postgres and MySQL without Sequelize. So I'm going to open that up. And you can see this is still the same Git repository as before. So we're going to have to make a small change there. But before I created the new app from the command line with Heroku create, this time I'll create it with I'll create it first within the Heroku dashboard. So I'm going to create the new app. So Heroku, Postgres, Sequelize. Hopefully that's available. Yes, it is. Okay, create app. And again, here's what we need to do to set it up. And first, let's open it up in code. Okay, we got it set up, and I didn't change any of the anything since the last video. So if we do git remote v, it's pointing to that last application that we were working on, which no longer exists. So there's a couple things you could do. You could do git remote remove Heroku, and then you could do git remote add Heroku with the new URL, but that's not necessary. Another thing you could do is git remote set URL to the new URL, but none of that is necessary because Heroku takes care of that for us with this command here. So we already have our git repository, we just need to do this command. So I'll copy that, come back, paste that in, run it, and now if we do git remote -v, it's set to the new app, and it should work. If you do want to start over, you could just delete this git folder and then do another git init. We might end up doing that if we run into an issue here. But if we do Heroku add-ons, we should see none. Okay, so first thing we need to do, as last video, we need to provision Postgres for this app. A couple ways to do it. I'm going to do it with the oh, not remote. It's data. Okay, and go ahead and add that. Provision. Okay, and to verify that it is set up, let's do Heroku add-ons again, and it's there. Alright, cool. So we got all that set up. So now when we push to Heroku, everything should be fine. But first, what I want to do is set up Sequelize with to connect to the local MySQL instance. So a couple things we want to do here. First, I want to go over an alternative to Sequelize that's pretty popular. It's not really an alternative, but we'll talk about that. So it's called Connects. This is the NPM page for it, and it is basically just a query builder that has some extra features as well. And what you can do is you can install this along with all the other clients that we've been using. Like we installed MySQL package, we installed the PG package for Postgres, and then what it does is it allows you to write queries in a certain format, and then it'll take care of converting them based on whatever package you want to use, whatever dialect you want to use, it'll convert them over to the correct syntax for that dialect. And another thing it does is, I mean, it has more features as well, but this is the homepage for it. Another thing it does is has standardized responses for the different clients and dialects. So if you do switch databases, or switch from a MySQL to a Postgres, and the client you're using gives you a different response, you wouldn't have to worry about that, because if you're using Connects, because it always gives you a standardized response, so you wouldn't have to go and change your code if you're using Connects. So yeah, you'd install that, and then you'd install the clients you want to use, and it would basically use those clients to connect. I'm not going to go over how to do that in this video, but I might make another video about that. Also with Connects, if you do want to use an ORM, like Sequelize, you can. There's some ORMs that are built on top of Connects, such as Bookshelf and Objection are both popular, and they're built on top of Connects. So if that's something you're interested in, check that out. For now, let's close these out. We're not going to use these. So I am going to use Sequelize, and I am going to start with, again, connecting to local MySQL instance, and then we'll connect to the Postgres instance on Heroku. So one thing different is we do need this installed, MySQL 2. It's another package, another client. We have MySQL installed, but we do need MySQL 2 because Sequelize uses that. So let's do that first. I'm not going to worry about deleting MySQL, just leave it in there. And we already have PG, which is going to be required as well. I noticed they say to install this, but I didn't really need to install it to get it to work, so that's up to you, I guess. Maybe you might have some issues down the road, but I just installed this and it worked fine. Okay, but I do need to install this, so I'll do that right now. So let's do npm I MySQL 2. Okay, that's installed. Looks good. Alright, and we also need to install Sequelize, so let's do that. Just don't want to misspell it, so I'll just copy it from here. Oops. Install Sequelize. Okay, that's done. And now, I'm going to comment this out for now. We're going to use it. We are not going to use this at all, so I'll get rid of it. Sequelize takes care of all that for us. I will use this, so let's bring this back in. And I'm just going to use this configuration. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't think I need all that. So, to get started, you would require Sequelize, and this is a constructor function that's going to be used here. And this constructor function takes in these options. I'm basically just going to copy this entire thing. We don't need this direct reference to client. We're not going to be using that. We don't need this as well. Okay, we'll get rid of that, clean it up a little bit. And so we have this constructor function. This will be the database name. And again, our database name is testing1. When we use Postgres on Heroku, it's going to be whatever database name they give us. I don't think we have a choice on that. Our username for right now is going to be root, and our password again is Rudy. We have the host, localhost, and we have the dialect, which is going to be MySQL right now. I don't think we need to worry about this. This will set up the connection pool. These options, you can read more about those in the docs. So if you go to reference and then click on Sequelize and search for pool, you can read more about what those are. I'm not going to go over them right now though. Okay, and then we're not using SQLite right now, so let's get rid of that. Save that. So that looks good. I think that should all be fine. So we do want to create a model. Normally that would go in another file, another folder, but I'm just going to do everything in this one file for now. So first of all, let's comment this out for now. Actually, we won't need this at all. Get rid of this. Clean everything up a little bit. I am going to use this URL or this right here later on, so I'm keeping that for now. Let's move this out of here, and we're not going to use this anymore. Sequelize is going to take care of all that for us. Okay, and then here, instead of client query, we're going to do something else. But before we do that, let's make our model. And we'll just call it user. Sequelize.define. And this will be the model name, which will just be user. And then we have the attributes. So I'll go to the page and show you how that's defined here. They have the attributes and the options. So here though, they have this syntax. But if you're just defining a type, I believe you can just put without the object, you can just define the type, and I'll show what I mean by that. So I'll copy this and go here, and we just have name. By default, Sequelize takes care of the ID, auto incrementing ID, and also adds a created at and modified at column to the table, which is fine. I'm pretty sure you can customize that as well if you don't want that. So instead of this object here, we're going to get rid of that and just do name is that. And we don't have a last name, we just have a name. Okay. And so there's our model. And if you do want to use to not use this every time, if you just want to be able to type string, one option you could do is basically duplicate this line and destructure those things out of this object if you want. I don't think it's important, but just wanted to mention that. And then you can just refer to this as string instead of sequelize.string and all that. But I'm not going to do that. Okay, so that's all set. And then we need to sync this model with the database. So we're going to use this function here, UserSync, and this will recreate as it says here. It'll drop the table if it already exists, so we don't want to do that. It doesn't matter in this case. It's just going to create a brand new table called users. And let's get rid of this. And then this will just be name. We'll keep the name John, that's fine. And that's good. So this is going to, when it starts up, it's going to create a user already for us to have, and we don't need to worry about creating one. Okay, so that looks good. And then instead of query, let's comment this out for now. We will have user.get. I'm sorry, find all, and then the result will be in a promise callback. Result, and then we can just bring this line down here and get rid of this and comment this back in, and let's just save. Okay, so this should work. This will get all of the columns and everything from the user table, users table, and yeah, and it should work. So let's try it out. If not, we'll fix the errors. Okay, let's run the server. Not getting any issues right now. Let's go into the workbench and see, refresh here in the users table, and it did add John in there. Okay, cool. And like I said, it takes care of the ID by default. It's just an auto incrementing ID, and then it also adds these two columns by default, which is kind of nice. Okay, so now it's in the database. Let's test our app and see if it is reading properly as well. Looks like it is. Cool. So now that my Sequelize is working on our local, Sequelize is working on our local MySQL instance, let's get it working on Postgres and Heroku. So very little change, since the syntax is going to be the same no matter what, at least the syntax is going to be the same for no matter what dialect we're using. So instead of all this configuration stuff, we can just use a, instead of using this host name and this password and all that information will be included in this database URL that we got from Heroku, and that would go here. And then, so the host is taken care of. You still need the dialect, which would be Postgres, I believe, I hope. Let's double check that. We can close this. Postgres. Yeah, Postgres. Okay. Cool. And then we can keep that setting. I'm not sure how this will work with the Heroku Postgres right now. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay. Cool. That all looks good. Don't need to change anything there. Don't need to change anything there. We don't need this anymore. That looks fine. Okay, it all looks good. So now we just need to, let's stop this local server, and now we need to push it up. And by the way, the last video I said that you can do Heroku logs, and then it'll show your logs. If you use --tail, it will keep that running, and then whenever something happens on the server, it'll log it out. So that's another nice thing you can use. Okay, so let's clear this out a little bit and do a get remote v, make sure it's the correct one, and then I want to do Heroku add-ons, make sure this is set up again. It is. Okay, cool. So let's do get add, get commit, Sequelize, get push Heroku master. Hopefully this doesn't have any issues. Alright, let's try it out. Hopefully it'll just work. Okay, not quite working yet. Small problem. Oh, okay. What happened is it ran and then created the user, and then it tried to before the user was actually created, it tried to run this and it didn't get any results, so I just had to refresh the page and we're getting the result. Cool. So that works, and that's how to use Sequelize, the basics of it. And thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And yep, thanks. Bye.